Welcome back, everyone. Let's go ahead and compare the iPhone success and compare it against the iPhone 13 and see which one you should go and pick up. Now, obviously, if you have any brain, if you have any money at all, I would recommend picking up an iPhone 13 mini. This is the better iPhone, but it is interesting to see how a 2015 phone, kind of the flagship of that year underneath the Success Plus, compares to one of the cheaper phones of this year that Apple's put out. So if you want to pick up, the 13 mini or other phones I would recommend, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see the iPhone success. Although it is the bigger phone, it has a much smaller display. The iPhone 13 mini has a 5.4-inch OLED panel. The iPhone success has a 4.7-inch IPS panel. So you're getting a way better display on the iPhone 13 mini. Now, with the success, you have all this bezel on the top and bottom, which really doesn't do it any favors, to be completely honest. You have this Touch ID home button. I love Touch ID, but I don't like the home button. So you're definitely getting a much better display on the iPhone 13 mini than on the iPhone success, without a doubt, for sure. I'd rather take a notch. I'd rather take 3 notches than the bezel on the iPhone success and an IPS panel. Now, on the side, you definitely do have a little bit of a different setup, the aluminum side on both of them, but it is a flat design phone on the 13 mini. The success is curved, but a big thing to keep in mind is look how much thinner the success is. Now, although it is thinner, it doesn't mean it's better. You're getting a way better phone on the 13 mini with a way bigger battery and way better battery life than on the iPhone success. And I did test it, and the success did not do so well. It was one of the first phones to die, actually, in my test. Now, on the back, you have aluminum back on the iPhone success, where the iPhone 13 mini has this glass back, which looks beautiful still. Between both, feeling both in the hand, the 13 mini definitely feels a little bit heavier, but you can't even tell that much, to be honest. Maybe, yeah, I think the 13 mini is heavier, but the 13 mini looks far better than the success. You have a single camera setup on the iPhone success and a dual camera setup on the iPhone 13 mini, and we'll hit on this in a second, but look at how small this camera lens looks on the success compared to the massive lenses on the iPhone 13 mini. It's pretty insane. We have a power button on the side, lightning ports at the bottom. The success has a headphone jack, so if you're into that stuff, this phone still has it. You have IP certification on the iPhone 13 mini, which is really cool. And in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. Now, one of the biggest things to keep in mind between both of these phones is the longevity. The iPhone 13 mini, it just came out, so we already know this phone's going to last forever. It's going to be supported for like 5 more years. The iPhone success, it's really on its last leg. It just got the last version of software. It's probably getting iOS 15, and this phone is actually on iOS 15 as well. And here's the thing, the success, it's pretty much done. I think it's going to get one more version, the iOS 15 full. It's going to finish it off, and then that's it. I don't think it's getting iOS 16. It may get some security updates here and there, but this phone is pretty much outdated. So you're in a perfect spot, honestly, to go pick up an iPhone 13 mini, because this phone, you can jump ship from this phone and then go straight to the 13 mini and still get a supported phone, which is great. And this phone will last so many years that it's not even funny. So in terms of the longevity aspect, that pretty much covers it up there. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these iPhones. Now, the iPhone success has that Apple A9 chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM, but the iPhone 13 mini has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, that covers it up there. All the apps are cleared out in the background, as you guys can see, so let's get into it. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I want to say the 13 mini was faster, but the success was still pretty fast. Let's go into their app stores, 3, 2, 1. And the 13 mini did get into a little pop-up, but it was still faster than the success. So we do eventually get into it on this phone, definitely a little bit slower on the iPhone success. Scrolling through, I'm definitely getting a smoother experience on the iPhone success, on the iPhone 13 mini, than on the iPhone success. Hopping out of this specific application, let's go and get into something like settings. Let's get into music, 3, 2, 1. And definitely another pop-up here, which is very unfortunate. And I don't know which one is which. They kind of screwed up there, to be honest. Camera, 3, 2, 1. 13 mini fast, but the success is surprisingly still pretty decent. Mail, 3, 2, 1. 13 mini faster. iPhone success a little bit behind. Let's do clock, 3, 2, 1. The 13 mini is faster, but the success is really surprising me right now. I feel like 1 or 2 apps may be faster on that specific phone. Now, I have a bunch of these third-party apps. Unfortunately, we don't have all of them here. So let's do Nova Legacy. Now, this is a massive game. So we'll do Fruit Ninja first. 3, 2, 1. Now, Nova Legacy is a massive game, so it's probably going to take the remainder of this test. But I will be curious to see. Okay, so we are loaded on the iPhone 13 mini. The success just a little bit behind. Again, nothing crazy, but you're seeing a little bit of a difference there. So now we have a Nova Legacy. So let's go and open up this one. 3, 2, 1. So the same pop-up on both when they first started. The iPhone 13 mini is already loaded. As you can see, it's pretty much already on this Game Center screen. So I'll go and click cancel here. And I can start playing this game if I wanted to. The 6S is a little bit, I mean, you're pretty much seeing a massive difference between these two for sure. And I mean, there's not much we can do except wait. So we've been waiting for a little bit of time now, I think about 10-15 seconds, and not much has loaded, not much has changed. So I can definitely tell you there is a massive difference in terms of at least the loading speeds between a game like Nova Legacy on both of these devices. And you can replicate the same thing with things like PUBG, and if you're able to get Fortnite on your phone, you're pretty much going to be able to see this big of a difference in terms of gaming loading speeds for these massive games, which is so crazy. Now, I did want to do settings, which is so crazy, but for an app like settings, it's not really that intensive. 3, 2, 1. But it's an application that you open up all the time. And for every single time that you go and iterate through those, you'll see that it'll be that much faster. Now, if we go and click on something like this middle mail option down here, 3, 2, 1. Even there, when you click on those little things, look at how much faster it is on the iPhone 13 mini, App Store 3, 2, 1. Even when you click on those little tiny things, you're seeing even if it's a little bit of a difference, those things add up over time. You can go and click on battery health, and you can definitely see there's a big difference. So overall, I can definitely tell you, in my experience from both of these phones, you are definitely getting a much faster phone from the iPhone 13 mini than on the iPhone 6s. I mean, for simple apps like like settings and those things, little tiny differences, but Nova Legacy apps like that, you're going to be seeing a massive difference for sure. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. Now on the back, like I mentioned, you have 12 megapixel lenses on all these lenses. The iPhone 6s can do 4K videos, which is great, but not 4K at 60. And look at the lens difference. I mean, it's a very small lens. The iPhone 13 mini has a dual camera setup, a wide and ultra wide sensor, and you can do 4K at 60 on the iPhone 13 mini, which is beautiful. Now, one thing that's always surprised me is the amount of few differences that Apple has made for the camera UIs. I mean, they look almost identical, and in fact, it's very weird that the viewfinder on a smaller phone like the iPhone 6s seems bigger than the viewfinder on the iPhone 13 mini. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, I do want to see this for video though, because that's very weird. So if you look on the video, I mean, yeah, it's definitely bigger on the iPhone 13 mini if it's on widescreen. The 13 mini definitely has way more features. Portrait mode, you do have this new cinematic mode on the iPhone 13 mini, which looks beautiful. It's portrait mode for videos. The iPhone 6s is pretty outdated. I mean, you don't really have too many features for it. No portrait mode, no 4K 60 on the front or the back. The 13 mini has 4K 60 on the front and the back, which is great. Now, like I mentioned, the 6s camera, I don't think it was bad when it first came out, and it was actually a pretty big difference from the predecessor, which was the iPhone 6. You had 4K finally on this phone, but it wasn't 4K at 60, but you had a pretty big difference, and the 6S was a pretty big differentiating factor from its predecessor. So this camera is still decent. Again, it's not perfect, but it gets the job done, I guess, for a 2015 phone. It's 6 years old at this point. It's not great, it's not good, but for the year and age and price of this phone, it's actually surprisingly decent. Now on the iPhone 13 mini, you guys already know this is going to be one of the best cameras you can pick up. This thing with that ultra-wide sensor is beautiful. You have the ability of zooming in a little bit, but you have the ability of zooming out a lot with that ultra-wide sensor, which is perfect on a phone like this. So when it comes down to it, whether it's the iPhone 6s or 13 mini, you have a camera array you can choose from in between. You don't have to jump from a 6s to a 13 mini, but this is a very good camera, and if you want the same form factor, this is without a doubt a really easy choice for me. The 13 mini, without a doubt, is the better phone. It's better in every single category. It's just, maybe it's not better in price tag. The 6S, you can probably, like if I really wanted to, I could probably buy one of these for like $40-50. But the 13 mini, this is the better choice without a doubt. I would be willing to recommend people buying this. I know it's like $700 something, but you can buy this phone today and move on with your life and not have to worry about a phone for several more years. For 4 or 5 years, you don't have to worry about your phone unless you crack it or something. But even then, throw a case on it, you'll be fine. The 6S, I think, is a great phone. I think it was a great phone when it first came out. I don't think it's a good phone anymore. I think it's pretty much outdated. You're pretty much outdated in software, battery, performance, camera, like you name it, design. I'm still pretty surprised about this phone. I think this phone still has some capability, but again, you're pretty much outdated, and I would highly recommend you to go from a 6S to a 13 mini. To be honest, like I mentioned before, even a 6S to an iPhone 10 is a massive difference. So if you don't want to get a 13 mini, you could at least get an iPhone 10 and still call it a day. So that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.